श्याम निताई गौरांग भगवान। जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। Welcome everyone to this transcendental program of studying the culture of the highest duty of mankind, called the Bhagavad Dharma or the Param Dharma. Currently we are studying the Prema Bhakti Chandrika by Sri Prema Thakur, who is the embodiment of the kind of love which Mahaprabhu descended to bestow upon the whole humanity. And he preserved that love. Actually, it was the expression of love of Nityananda Prabhu towards Mahaprabhu, which Mahaprabhu preserved. Because anything to be accomplished without the mercy connection of Nityananda Prabhu, one cannot have, and that's why the connectivity of Nityananda Prabhu for the mercy of Mahaprabhu to be bestowed upon anyone is very essential. Independent of Mahaprabhu, independent of Nityananda Prabhu, it is impossible to really become fully blessed with the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So Narottam Das Thakur is so systematically educating us how we can navigate, how our life can be navigated from the present status of Ajata Rati. Rati means bhava.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Yes, so our immediate goal should be how we come to the stage of spontaneity in the expression of our the in expressing our sentiments, you know, through the mind, through the speech, and through the actions. Man karma vachan. We express our sentiments, or our consciousness is expressed through our mind, through our speech, and also through our actions. So how we attain the platform of spontaneity, or the bhava bhakti, where every expression will be effortless, incessant, and akhanda. We will never be able to leave it, or we will never be deprived of that connectivity. So wonderful, wonderfully he is preparing us. In the previous sloka of Prema Bhakti Chandrika, how the instruction was how to get rid of the false endeavors. Of course, the actions come at the end. First, the contemplation. Our mind, some ideas, something is cooking. The initial blueprint of our actions, or what we will speak, takes place in the mind. And then whatever is churning in the mind comes out somehow in our words, in our speech. And eventually, if the churning is very powerful and very deep, then also it takes the shape in action. So all the false endeavors and the aspiration for distinction, position, power, it has to be relinquished. It has to be given up. That was the essence of the essence of the message in the last sloka. Because when anything or everything, rather everything, when everything is done for personal happiness, then the desires for mundane sensuality, because we cannot be simultaneously obsessed with more than one thing of opposite nature, correct? So that is the conditioned state of the living entity, of a sadhaka even also. Sadhaka on one side, just by very entrance on this path of pure devotion service, he is no more a conditioned soul. But as far as attitude for oneself is concerned, one should think that one is a conditioned soul. Others should not think any sadhak on this path of pure devotional service as a conditioned soul. See this paradox? More and more paradoxes we are able to explore on this path of pure devotional service. It will enlighten us more and more in our how we should think and how should we look. How should we think of ourselves and how should we think of others? But in general, it is said that when everything is done for personal happiness, then the desires for mundane sensuality will be the cause of bondage. Yes, self-centeredness. I am for me, and me means my this body, and who are mine, who are connected to give joy to my body. They are mine. So this, so this thought of personal happiness, the desire for mundane sensuality will be the cause of my bondage to this material world. And it has continued since eternity. So the root cause is this personal happiness, seeking personal happiness, self-centered. This place, make this place as the abode of happiness for me. So for this reason, the scriptures and the great Mahajanas, teachers, order us to give up all false endeavors which are in misidentification of the self. Self as this body and bodily connections. So like these false endeavors, the devotees devotees means every sadhaka must also give up the powerful obstacles of desires for profit. You know, when one becomes self-centered, then one thinks one is so important, so great. You know, so if one thinks of oneself as very great, can we pinpoint our existence? Can we pinpoint the size of our position on the world map? uh, And can you pinpoint where do I belong? There's a huge globe. There's so many continents, so many countries, and so many states, and so many uh, districts, so many cities and sub-cities, and particular area, that particular street, and particular street, particular house, and in that house, so many rooms, and where am I? How small? How big am I? So when we are in proper association and proper contemplation, then we can easily be humble. To think of, to acknowledge one's insignificance and tininess should be enough to make one feel humble all the times. So so like these false endeavors, which causes or which increases our self-centeredness, the devotees must also give up the powerful obstacles due to the desire for profit, adoration, and distinction. These vices are called vices that arise out of. Now, this is the cause of great concern. Such vices, they arise out of the glory uh, we feel due to our practice of this pure devotional service. Pure devotional service. How can there be any ulterior motive? Because the devotional service is considered pure. And then only when anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavita anukulyana krishnanusilanam. Anything done favorably and to bring joy to Krishna. Anything done with any intention otherwise cannot be called pure devotional service. Although we are on the path of pure devotional service, and even when apparently we are doing things which are very wonderful, looking good, great, but inside, what is, if our inner conscience and consciousness is not purified fully, then that little slit, little opening, little possibility is there to for this desire for profit, adoration, and distinction may creep in unbeknown to us. That's why our it is our obligation to oneself individually to really target the stage of spontaneity in our life. And when we talk about spontaneity, The spontaneous expression of our mind, our speech and action should be only the object of that expression, should be only the divine couple, not oneself. These vices are called vices that arise from devotion, because when a sadhaka performs devotional service, he gets so much adoration unasked. Unasked, if somebody glorifies me, somebody, you know, declares how great I am, what a pure devotee I am, what a wonderful, what a knowledgeable, and all these things. Oh, so in the conditioned state, whatever way we become certified, we also start claiming, yes, everybody has certified that I am so qualified. And so one inevitably thinks that he is qualified. And the moment a sadhaka thinks that he is qualified, then Krishna says, okay, now you are on your own. So this is the risk. This is the first, like first plague. Sometimes in some sports they have some, flag, some warning number one, strike number one, strike number two, and if you don't wake up, the third strike you are out. There's a sport, baseball, only three strike. So two strikes and third strike you are out. So as we continue this culture of this Bhagavad Dharma, we are reminded that now we are on the verge. We have we have we are on two strikes already. Next strike will be out. So that much aware and conscious one should be, a sadhak should become. Whether, of course, spontaneous, we are many things. Anything which has captured our mind or heart or thought or even our intelligence, we are very much drawn into those attractions or temptations. Mhm. And in the unpurified state, when these things come, so much adoration from others come, then sadhaka may start assessing himself in connection with that bhajan, thinking that I'm doing so much bhajan, I'm doing so much, and so that's why people know me. Now people know me, that how great and how pure, etc. Who wouldn't like that? So if we start liking, if we start admiring for personal glory anything in this world, then we lose the focus of relishing the glory of the divine couple. How subtle it is. Even while on the path of relishing the glory of the divine couple, the sense of self-glory creeps in. How is it possible simultaneously? Well, apparently simultaneously. Actually, the self-centeredness which has plagued us, which has overpowered us, which has captured our consciousness. We are so used to be captured by self-centeredness that even when we truly are trying to purify our existence and elevate our consciousness on the spiritual platform, where the divine couple is the object of our center, center of our consciousness. Still, the tendency is there, tendency to become self-centered. Yeah. See how much how much I relish these things, how much I study these things, how much austerity I perform for this. See how prominent and all pervading this I-ness can be. Even in the name of Krishna or Krishna consciousness, that's possible. So when a sadhaka start assessing himself in connection with his bhajan, so this is when these uh, and one justifies, yes, I deserve this much glory, adoration, I deserve this position, I deserve this status, I deserve this profit. So because I have received so much from others, now if I'm in the situation, place, time, and circumstances when people don't care how great I am, so we become bound by the expectation from others when we think that those who have honored us, given us position, power, prestige, and profit, we think that we are worthy of it. The moment we think we are worthy of anything, we are stuck here. So that's why these are the vices that arise from devotion. And Raghunath Das Goswami is very strongly given in his Manasiksha. He says, Pratishtha Dushta Shvapache Ramani Pratishtha Asha Dushta. Dushta means very Shvapache Ramani compared to Shvapache. Ramani means the wife of a dog eater. Shvapache, dog eater. Me hृदि नटेत कथम साधु प्रेमा स्फुरति सुचिर एतान ननु मन है मन है शिक्षा. Oh my mind, the desire for distinction is like a shameless dushta. Somebody who's a shameless, so arrogant and all these things. It's called dushta. Shameless dog-eating woman that dances in my heart. Wow. Oh my mind, the desire for distinction is like a shameless dog-eating woman that dances in my heart. How then can beautiful prema touch it? Self-centeredness has to leave us completely. We have to completely free ourselves under any time, place, and circumstances. Because if we become conscious of the divine couple is watching us. They are hearing us. They know what's going on in our mind. So why we want anyone else to think how glorious I am? So whatever pure thought, pure purity which has developed in our heart, in our consciousness, why should anyone else should be the recipient of it? It is for the divine couple, no? For Krishna. Only let Krishna and Sri Krishna, Sri Swamini, only let them know about it. Very meticulously, one must hide from anyone around us because we cannot hide from them, correct? But from everyone else, we must strive to hide. Let nobody, something which is meant for them, only they let them enjoy. If I have become a pure devotee, whatever, only let them relish because I am theirs, no? I am theirs. So this should be the primary enjoyer under all circumstances. They should be made the primary beneficiary. If I have something great and novel in my thought, in my speech, in my actions, they should be the beneficiary. They should be made the beneficiary. That thought should capture how the divine couple will be happy through such contemplation, through such speech, or through such action. Oh, my mind, the desire for distinction is like a shameless dog-eating woman that dances in my heart. How can then beautiful prema touch it? Dushta means shameless. It just doesn't want to leave the heart of the practitioner. At the end of Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is written, Sarva Tyagepi, Sarva Tyagepi Aheyaya, Sarvanartha Bhuvaschaye, Kuryu Pratishtha Visthaya, Yatnam Asparshane Varam. Even those who are able to renounce everything, Sarva Tyage api aheyaya, which is very difficult to give up. Although, even those who are able to renounce everything are not able to give up the desire for distinction, which is the root cause of all vice. Amazing, correct? Therefore, the practitioner must be especially careful not to touch this stool-like stool-like distinction. Stool-like distinction. What else we compared in our one's question answering? What else we compared to stool? This envy. Envy is no duplicity. Envy is the sixth stage cancer. It cannot be cured. It has to be uprooted. This desire for distinction, it is compared to the stool. Who desires stool? Nobody desires stool, correct? But the desire for distinction, which causes unlimited self-centeredness, is compared to the stool. It brings our consciousness to the level of stool, thinking of stool. That is the thing which must be gotten rid of. When the pressure of stool comes, does anybody wants to hold on to it? No. So that's why this culture of Krishna consciousness ultimately should release us from the stool. Our stool must be released completely. And in that stage, only one feels this sense, oh, how horrible, how dirty I have been. But as long as the stool is held on, one feels the effect of how great I am, how big I am, and all these things. But in reality, we are anything but big. We are anything but small, insignificant, incapacitated, etc. Therefore, the practitioner must be especially careful not to touch this stool-like distinction. Where is that? So what else? So my question before I forget. So what else we compared to stool? I must have asked this question many times. Duplicity, kutinati. Duplicity is also compared to stool in our body. So as long as stool is within our system, within our body, we think we are great, we are pure, we are ready to do anything. We can go to the kitchen, cook bhoga for the Lord, we can enter the temple and everything. Now when, so with the stool in the body, we are impure, correct? But when we release the stool from our body, actually we have become pure. No? So after we have become cleansed from all stool, we have actually become pure. Why one needs to go to take bath? This is the question I have asked again. See the paradox involved in this. So as long as the stool-like duplicity is within our system, duplicity means we think something in a very manipulative way, say something else and do something else. So there is no unison of what we think, what we speak, and what we do. That is called duplicity. And as long as this duplicity like or stool like duplicity, which is more powerful? Stool like duplicity, correct? Yeah, stool like duplicity is in our system, we think we are pure. But only when this stool like duplicity is out of our system, we have actually become cleansed. At that time, we think, oh, how dirty I am. Not how dirty I was. Only after release of this stool like duplicity, one actually thinks, oh, how dirty I am. Oh, I cannot go to kitchen, I have to take bath. I cannot cook bhoga right now. I cannot do arti. You have to give me, I have to take bath first. So, see the paradox? Only when one has become actually pure or got rid of impurity, stool-like impurity or stool-like duplicity out of our consciousness. So this culture of Krishna consciousness. One actually thinks one is so impure. But as long as one is impure with the stool and duplicity within, one thinks one is pure. See the big paradox. Therefore, the practitioner must be especially careful not to touch this stool-like distinction. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the desires for profit, adoration, and distinction have been compared to weeds. When the wine of devotion is sprinkled with the water of the process of hearing and chanting, the weeds also grow and will suffocate the wine of devotion. Will block. So that wine of devotion, so that she means the wine of devotion cannot grow any further. First, these weeds must be cut, uprooted, and then the main trunk can grow towards Vrindavan. Our specific point of reaching destination is the divine lotus feet of Srimati Radhika Rani, or the divine couple, but with Srimati Radhika Rani. The desire for profit, adoration, and distinction shows its ugly force in the heart of a practitioner who has no taste for the holy name. Now, the practitioner, he is not, is not, is not given up the practice. Heart of a practitioner who has no taste for the holy name. So, if there is a condition of a sadhaka, then his position is like he's casual in his performing devotional service. Because he's performing devotional service just for the sake of doing it, because people are going to watch him, whether he chanted 16 rounds, whether he attended Mangala Arati, or whether he did this or that, you know. So if one has developed no taste for the holy name, attributes and pastimes of Sri Krishna, then he's in the, and still he continues practicing, you know. Then he just, how long he can continue? Just for, it's a drag, you know, dragging oneself, and one gets no taste for the holy name, you know, in Krishna Katha, etc. So a serious sadhaka means at least he comes to the stage of, you know, conscious state. One is very, very conscious as to what should be done, what should not be done, how one should conduct his life, his schedule 24 hours, how we should do consciously. So sadhan bhakti means a conscious state of our existence. And bhav bhakti is the spontaneous. So casual, conscious and spontaneous. These three stages could be. But this casual stage is the cause of concern, because in casual state only one is dragging oneself. He has no taste for the holy name or attributes and pastimes of Krishna. So those pure-hearted souls who only aim at love of Krishna, and those practitioners who are fixed in bhajan, will be accordingly decorated. What is the decoration of a pure devotee, or one who is very fixed, and one who has developed or relished some taste for the holy name, for the attributes and pastimes of the divine couple? What is their decoration? Those who are fixed in bhajan, they will be accordingly decorated with attributes like satisfaction, yatha labha santushta, whatever they get, sahaj, without overindulging, over endeavor. They are satisfied on the material platform. Whatever they get, they are satisfied, because our material needs, we cannot afford to increase. Rather, we should endeavor to minimize them, so that we can focus and engage more for spiritual gain. So they will be decorated with attributes like satisfaction, humility, modesty, etc. Modesty, lack of arrogance, because arrogance comes with the sense of accomplishment, sense of claiming. Claiming is bondage, acknowledgement is liberating. So how a person becomes modest and humble? Because he acknowledges, oh, so much fortune I have been bestowed by causeless mercy of the divine, not because of my qualification of any sort. Because the fortune which has been exposed to us, the mercy of Mahaprabhu, the benediction of Mahaprabhu is so humongous, so unprecedented. It's the best gift, best appreciation we have gained towards the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So how can we not feel and acknowledge the causeless mercy of Mahaprabhu? If we acknowledge uh, that we have become the recipient of Mahaprabhu's mercy, how can we remain arrogant? How can we anything but be modest, humble. And then he will be easily able to cast away all these vicious desires which will deprive us to have this acknowledgement of the mercy, the self-centeredness and the desire for power, prestige, and distinction. For whom, in our consciousness, the divine couple and those who are very dear and near to divine couple, they must be glorified. And our joy is in glorifying them rather than hankering for self-glorification. We have to cast away all these vicious desires. So after this, the blessed author Narottam Das Thakur proclaims Sada Chinto Govinda Charana. The process, the way to come about is to be able to remember Krishna all the time. Sada Chinto. And this is again, how is it possible? Sada Chinto. It's very, just for instruction's sake, okay, always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And whole purpose of the scripture is only to cause that constant remembering of Krishna and never forgetting Krishna. Very easily said than done. When will we attain that status where we are spontaneously? Because only on this spontaneous platform we will be able to remember Krishna incessantly, all the times. Kirtaniya Sadahari. How to accomplish this? The devotee who desires his own welfare gives up all these destructive obstacles to bhajan and always meditates on Govinda's lotus feet. You know? So what is actually described here is the remembrance of the greatly sweet names, 7 aspects of Krishna we describe. Whether we are able to remember Krishna's name all the times, Nam, Roop, Guna, Lila, Dham, Parikar, Abharan, or one after another, sometimes name, sometimes pastime, sometimes attribute, sometimes. So our 24 hours should be engaged in remembering Krishna either through his name, Rupa, form, his qualities, pastimes, thinking of his abode, thinking of his associates, thinking of his paraphernalia. So through recollection of Sri Govinda, the heart of the person who meditates becomes immersed in Govinda. Just as the heart of the person who continuously thinks of sensual objects becomes immersed in sensuality. What a same thing. Through recollection of Sri Govinda. So we must remember the 7 aspects of Govinda, Krishna's Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila. The heart of the person who meditates becomes immersed in Govinda, just as the heart of the person who continuously thinks of sensual objects becomes immersed in sensuality. Just as the mind of a sensual person is immersed in the sweetness of sense objects and he is no longer able to think of Krishna. The very purpose of scripture, very purpose of this culture of this Krishna consciousness is baffled. For the person whose mind of a sensual person, because he's immersed in the sweetness of sense objects and he's no longer able to think of Krishna. Similarly, a mind which is attached to meditating on me, Krishna says, will no longer endeavor in thinking of or getting to know any sensual thoughts. So ruchi, taste for Krishna's Nam Rupa Guna Lila Dham Parikar, at least. So that stage, at least that is also very elevated stage to ruchi. To develop taste for Krishna's Nam Rupa Guna Lila Dham Parikar Abharana. It's a very high stage also. If we can uh, engage 24 hours, just not in one practice like Haridas Thakur, only chanting, only chanting, only chanting. That is not our stage. At least we can engage 24 hours in Nam Rupa Guna Lila Dham. That would be also great. But even that is not sufficient. One has to go one stage higher. And that from Ruchi to Asakti. In Asakti, when we become attached to anything, our remembrance of that object of our attachment becomes incessant. If that happens, as Krishna says, that if one mind becomes attached to meditating on me, Krishna says, will no longer endeavor, but attachment of the mind to Krishna. Krishna again, when we talk about Krishna, we should remember Nam Rupa Guna Lila Dhama Parikar Abhran. And Krishna says, attached to me. Mere ruchi is not incessant because we may become interested in something, but how long our interest will hold, that's the point. At the stage of asakti, we can remain interested in something or the object of our attachment all the time. Then, if that stage is attained, then in the conclusion of last sloka, Nautamda Thakur says, Sakala Vipatti Jai, Mahananda Sukha Pai, Prema Bhakti Parama Karana. If one is able to give up all false endeavors for profit, adoration, and distinction, and continuously think of Sri Govinda's lotus feet, Sri Govinda means Sri Radha Govinda. Then all disaster, we should not on this path independently think of Govinda's lotus feet. Only when Govinda is with Srimati Swamini, Srimati Radharani. And continues to think of Sri Govinda's lotus feet, then all disaster will dissipate from the practitioner. He will gain the treasure of great bliss, and it is also the greatest means to attain loving devotion. Another meaning is that loving devotion, which is the primary cause for attaining Sri Krishna. If one is able to remember Sri Govinda's lotus feet, then all disaster will dissipate from the practitioner. He will gain the treasure of great bliss, and it is also the greatest means to attain loving devotion. Means incessant. Another meaning is that loving devotion, which is the primary cause for attaining Sri Krishna. We capture Krishna through this loving attachment. Attachment is incessant, correct? So at that stage, one becomes conscious of Krishna 24/7, effortlessly, spontaneously, without reminding, without the alarm warning even. Wake up. I have to be woken up through double alarm every day because that spontaneity is missing. No? So another meaning is that loving devotion, which is the primary cause for attaining Sri Krishna, is also the cause for attaining loving devotion itself. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. The practice of devotion will cause the loving devotion. That's why our practice is for loving devotion, and this practice will cause the spontaneous devotion, Prem Bhakti. The process is just a primary beginning, middle, or the final stage of Prem Bhakti only. We are on the path of pure loving devotion. The beginning stage Sadhan Bhakti, middle is called Bhav Bhakti, and the final stage is Prema Bhakti. So the Bhakti will cause Bhakti. So this loving devotion is also the cause for attaining loving devotion itself. Therefore, each and every aspirant who wishes to attain prema should give up false endeavors for profit, adoration, and distinction, and should continuously think of what Krishna thinks about me, how Krishna thinks about me, how can I impress Krishna, how can I attract, what can I do, how can I think, how can I speak, how can I do in order to attract the ultimate mercy of the divine couple. Yes, because this our desire and endeavors for profit, adoration, and distinction will take us far, far away from that possibility of attaining or being able to continuously think of Sri Krishna's, Sri Govinda's lotus feet. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami told the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Sonaka Rishi, about the result of thinking of Lord's lotus feet, the beautiful Sloka. अविस्मृति कृष्ण पदारविन्दयो क्षिणोत्यभद्राणि च सन्तनोति सत्त्वस्य शुद्धिं परमात्म भक्तिं ज्ञानं च विज्ञान विरागयुक्तम्. The constant recollection of Sri Krishna's lotus feet destroys all inauspiciousness, extends the utmost auspiciousness, purifies the consciousness, awakens devotion to the Lord's lotus feet, and bestows transcendental realizations and knowledge endowed with this passion. Wow. Now, this is very nice stand. But if we are able to constantly recollect or remember Sri Krishna's lotus feet, again the tussle or the thing is how to accomplish it. Very, very easy said, but then done. That's where this Bhagavad culture comes to lift us. One can directly say, oh, I will try to remember Krishna all the time because this was Avismriti Krishna Padarvinda, constant. But how do you do it? Is it possible? Only one who has fallen in love with Krishna can do it, correct? This is the practical. What is the feasibility of becoming able to remember Krishna's lotus feet all the times? Only one who has fallen in love with Krishna, one who has given one's heart and mind to Krishna. Is that my position? Constant recollection that's the standard. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. That is our standard, and that's also the minimum standard. You cannot stop and thinking that I have attained such a high status by chanting 16 rounds or 64 rounds or 128 rounds. No, it should not be like how much we are chanting. What is the meaning of how much we are chanting? How much we are breathing? Does anybody becomes tired of breathing? Oh, I have breathed enough, so let me take a break. Let everybody know that how much breathing I have done. That is very ludicrous, correct? In the same way, if one thinks that, oh, I'm chanting so much. No, we are supposed to chant all the times because one who is being chanted, one is glorified, he should be glorified incessantly. So now the question is, what is the most feasible way to be able to constantly remember Krishna? The scripture says, is through sakshat haritvena samasta shastrair uktas tatha bhavyat eva sadbhi kintu prabhorya kintu this kintu means additional. Sakshat hari, the hari is a direct manifestation, is in the form of the Mahatpurus, in the form of the spiritual masters. And because his sakshat is direct, so it is more feasible than others. Even Krishna's Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, Dham, Parikar and Abharan, out of which the spiritual master has to be perceived and considered as the Parshad, Parikar, associate of the Lord. Although in Swarupa, the spiritual master is Raganuga Bhakta, following, coming in the parampara of Anugatya. But for the disciple, his perception should he is a Ragatmika Bhakta. He is an associate of the Lord. Ragatmika Bhakti is in the heart of the eternal associates of the Lord. So when the perception of a sadhaka about the spiritual master is that he has come from Vaikuntha, because of his consciousness. So one of our God brothers asked this question. Like Srila Prabhupada told about his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he came from Vaikuntha. But and our understanding is that we have yet to make to Vaikuntha, correct? We have to reach Vaikuntha. So how to understand that spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada glorified his spiritual master, that he is a Vaikuntha person. He came from Vaikuntha. How we adjust this understanding? So this can be adjusted through this way, that the spiritual master, because he's in Vaikuntha consciousness, he's in the consciousness of Nikunja Mandir. He belongs there. So one who has attained such elevated transcendental consciousness, the moment one has attained that consciousness, he's from there, correct? So there is nothing wrong, nothing out of place to glorify the spiritual master as belonging to Goloka or belonging to the realm of Nikunja. And if, and Krishna says, Kintu Mad Bhakta Pujyabhidika, and to glorify the Mahatpurush of the spiritual master more than even Krishna, because any glorification by us of the divine couple even is indirect in our present situation. But the glorification and worship of the spiritual master who comes, embodied, spiritual master is the embodiment of Krishna's pure mercy. And because he comes as a person in our life, we can deal with him, we can reciprocate with him. And when we are in direct touch with someone, only then we become attached to him or fall in love with something. If falling in love with Krishna and Krishna's abode and was possible, we could have done this long time ago. But in order to cause our falling in love to Krishna, falling in love with Krishna is made possible through that affinity for the spiritual master who is perceived as Sakshat Hari. or even greater than Hari, because he is direct. Only through his association and through the enlightenment he provides through his association and instructions, we can experience what it would be like to be with Sri Hari. So spiritual master ignites, causes that test for the real thing or the highest thing. So one who becomes attached to the spiritual master and his status and his purity, his most blessedness, that is same experience is having fallen in love with this, with a divine couple. Because the spiritual master is a complete package in for our benefit in this present life, even in this material world. Because in order to cause our hankering and greed for the divine ultimate realm, this the divine realm or divine couple is simple. They have come to our life so that we can access them. Divine couple's existence is like an ocean. How can one can approach the ocean directly to have anything? We don't have a way to directly approach the ocean, and we may not be able to get anything because the ocean is like very forceful. But some sample comes in the form of the spiritual master. So if you like the sample, you like the whole thing, correct? But we can test the ocean only through the sample. That is the way. So that's why the most feasible way of attaining the status of Kirtaniya Sadahari is to perceive the most blessedness and perceive the status of the spiritual master as an eternal associate of of Sri Krishna, the divine couple. That is, but in perception, one who comes direct, we value or honor, worship or love that person no less than the divine couple themselves, because he is direct. So that is the glory of, and that is the way. That's why the in the very beginning, Nautam Das Thakur establishes this tattva: Sri Guru Charane Rati, Aise Uttama Gati, Je Prasade Pure Sarvasha. All our aspirations will be fulfilled when we will be transferred as a confidential, as a choicest maid servant of Srimati Radharani. And that possibility, that ultimate fortune will definitely be made possible when we realize that Rati, uh, for the Mahatpurus, for the spiritual master, if we are able to perceive his status as the most blessed, and who doesn't want to associate with the most blessed? Of course, this perception is always going to be subjective. There could be a different person is perceived as most blessed, but if we have found for ourselves the most blessed, then we stand good chance to attain, or we have attained that what is that? Uh, constant recollection of Krishna's lotus feet, because you know he is non-separated, and that's why non-different from the divine couple. Having said this, now further purification, further in today's Sloka, Narottam Das Thakur is establishing, reminding us of the deviations from the path of bhakti, preparing us so meticulously. असत क्रिया कुटी नाटी छाड़ो अन्य परिपाटी अन्य देव ना कोरी हो रति आपन आपन स्थाने पीरिति सभाए टाने Bhakati pathe padaye vigati. Stumbling blocks on this path of pure devotional service. We have to get rid of. So he say, Asatya kriya kutinati chhado anya paripati. Give up. Chhado means give up other, all such. Give up false activities such as lying, asat kriya, no? All these wrong things. Lying, cheating, and committing cruel and violent deeds. Give up false activities such as lying, cheating, and committing cruel and violent deeds. Give up all other skills. Chhado anya paripati. Paripati means out of sanskara, and we are we have got so much used to things as if nothing wrong. Of course, false activities like lying, cheating, and committing cruel and violent deeds. We don't want that anybody lie to us or cheat us or commit cruelty towards us, be violent towards us, correct? So naturally, in a cultured society, if one associates with the cultured people, then naturally, even if he has the tendency of lying, cheating, committing violence to others, nobody will appreciate. Then we will be left alone. So, in order to sustain the company association of good people, we have to also become good. No? But that is very gross. But then again, give up all other skills and do not become attached to other goals. Certain things we think is our glory. It has become it is what defines us. But that also captures our consciousness. We identify with those skills, those paripati I come from. Janma Ishwara Suti Shri I come from. High birth, high caste birth, I come from. But who comes? This body comes from that, from the womb of the mother. You know. So this identification with the high class birth or creed or color, etc. You know, skills. So give up identifying with all other skills or which come through the sanskara, previous sanskara, and do not become attached to other goals, other gods. Anya deve na kori ho priti. आपन आपन स्थाने piriti sabhai tane. Love for any individual will pull you to the abode of that individual, like a devata. If you fall in love with anyone, one becomes the object of one's highest adoration. That is love, no? If the love for any individual will pull you to the abode of that individual, demigod, and will cause you to fall from the path of pure devotion. The path of pure devotion is meant to cause our love for the divine couple, correct? But if we sustain our affinity, continue our affinity for anyone else, affinity is very powerful, correct? This culture of Krishna consciousness will make it possible for us to transfer that affinity or make the object of that affinity the divine couple. So, how to accomplish this? Now, only in the absence of one's awakening of one's true identity, correct? Swarupa. Only in the absence of one's awakening of one's true identity, Swarupa, one inevitably adopts those things which the scriptures prohibit. Because we were not enlightened enough, that's why we are still stuck with the things which are prohibited. What things the scriptures prohibit? Just imagine the depth of this instruction. The scripture says, Guru na sasyat. Don't become guru. Pitana se. Guru na sasyat, swajano na sasyat. Don't become a kin. Oh, he's mine. He's done this and that. Guru na sasyat, swajano na sasyat. Pitana sasyat. Don't become father. Wow. How many people would accept this proposal? I cannot become father. In order to become father, how much endeavor people do if I can become a father? But scripture says don't become a father, don't become a mother, don't become husband. Daivam na sasyad na patim sasyad. Don't become a worshipable God for anybody unless you are able to deliver the dependent from the cycle of birth and death. Namo chayet samupeta mrityu. But in ignorance or in the unawakened, due to the unawakening of one's Swarup, or true identity is the eternal maid servant of Srimati Radharani, eternal servant of Krishna. That's a general category. Jivere Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. That's a general. It may not be so fascinating, although it has not captured because what will capture our heart is something very specific. What is the meaning? And 1,000 times we have Jivere Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. We are eternal part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. But has it fascinated us enough? Enough fascination will come when it will be specified as choicest maid servant of Srimati Radharani to become the recipient of her divine mercy. So that's very fascinating. So if one is enlightened, one feels that fascination of becoming a choicest maid servant of Srimati Radharani, would one make this most entangling endeavors to adopt the things which the scriptures prohibit? Wow, what an endeavor to become guru. Now you are stuck. You have to. It's not a privilege. It's a great obligation. It's a great obligation. So if the hankering is to become guru as a position, so there's a course. Those who want to become guru, they should apply and they will sanction. Okay, you applied for becoming guru. Now you become guru. Scripture says don't become guru, but scriptures don't prohibit two things. One thing for those who are embodied in a male body, and one and half thing those who are embodied in the female body. So those who are male bodies, body, or everybody, male, female, only two categories. They are not prohibited to become the disciple. Scriptures don't say don't become disciple. Rather, only by becoming disciples, whatever prohibitions we have adopted, prohibitions have to be given up. But out of unenlightened conditioned state, whatever wrong things we have done, now they can be rectified. No matter, since eternity we have taken the wrong course. For rectification, one becomes a disciple. By becoming disciple proper, one is able to get rid of all the wrong conditioning. For ladies, it's never said don't become a wife. Nowhere in the injunctions, scripture injunctions. It is, and so, but ultimately, uh, the prohibition is don't become a mother, don't become a father, because our primary our priority is oneself. No? We have to. Mahaprabhu says, "Bharat bhumite hoile manushya janma jar," one who is born as a human being. Now, this Krishna consciousness from the land of India has spread all over the world. So wherever it is adopted, one can feel like one belonging to India, so, or one is born in India. It's a just matter of culture. If you uh, so Mahaprabhu has covered the whole human society, whole universe, if the whole world, this planet is Earth is Mother India, Bharat. If we adopt the culture or the highest culture of Krishna consciousness, started and spread from India, then we are born in India. Why should we keep this concept of born in India? If we follow India and India culture, we can be very proud to be born. Our second birth, or our spiritual birth, is from India, isn't it? Because the culture and the message of Krishna consciousness is from India. So Mahaprabhu says, Bharata Bhumite Hoile Manushya Janmaja. Whosoever is born in the land of India, in this culture of Krishna consciousness, he has true primary obligations. Janma Sarthak Kari, one should deliver oneself, one should attain this platform of spontaneity, bhava bhakti. And then Kari Para Upakar, then one should help others to attain the similar fortune. So, where do we stand? The deviations from the path of bhakti, we must become aware. Education is very essential. Through education, progressive education only, a conditioned soul can become inspired and he gains that spiritual strength and blessings that he can identify the possible deviations in on this path of pure devotional service. So some obstacles to the path of bhakti or bhajan that are not easily understood by the sadhaka, but that are practically blocking the path to devotional advancement. First of all, he says, Asatya Kriya Kutinati Chado Anya Paripati, Bhakti Sadhaka or practitioner who wish, practitioners who wish to attain prema must give up all conniving such as Asat Kriya and Kutinati, lying, acting cruelly, stealing, and committing violence are called Asat Kriya. To some extent, we can define because those who have been doing these activities, for them it everything appears normal, correct? But now we have become sadhakas. So, so how in the life of a sadhaka he can, you know, can he can he afford to remain involved with this asat kriyas, or can one justify still continuing with the tendency of lying, stealing, committing violence, and so called, you know, there's no way. But the residual effect, there's a saying in Hindi, चोर चोरी से गया हेरा फेरी से नहीं गया. one who is one who is so used to stealing, the tendency to steal remains. Hera Pheri. Even if he takes the vow, okay, from today onwards I will not steal. So now his proclivity to steal is so prominent. He said, oh, I've taken the vow not to steal. Okay, I will not steal, but I will take one thing from one person, put in someone else's, and someone else's thing and something. This ko Hera Pheri. Put in the things, one person's thing in another's bag, and another person's thing in another's bag. So, such tendencies of this asat kriya means unwanted things, they can culminate into powerful obstacles in the form of aparadhas. If you do such things, harsh words, impolite arrogance, and all these things, they cause aparadhas because practitioners, because we have to deal with the other practitioners, other sadhakas, more advanced or less advanced or equal advanced doesn't matter. Everybody, every sadhaka is, uh, is on the path which leads to the highest perfection of our human potential. Everybody is his target or destination is the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Can we afford to misbehave with them? Our attitude should be, since everybody is going to be a would-be gold medalist, like if a son is born to a king, the prince is also treated like a king. Do we treat him anything less than the king? The honor, love, respect, and we know that he is the next king, he is the would-be king. Same attitude we should develop for the other practitioners on this path. Otherwise, it will be called aparadhas. Aparadha is committed to other sadhakas, and aparadhas are committed very consciously, knowingly. Out of ignorance, if anything is thought or spoken or done, it is called papa, it is called sin. But aparadha is committed in knowledge, knowingly. We cannot hold back this proclivity to misbehave, proclivity to lie, proclivity to hurt, all these things. So a lot of purification needed. The main fruit or result of Bhagavad Bhakti, this sadhan bhakti, is Bhagavad Prem. What we are targeting through this practice of pure devotional service, Krishna Prem, Bhagavad Prem, which arises in the heart of the devotee after removing the contamination of ignorance from the heart through the pure devotional process of hearing and chanting. Correct? This is the conclusion of the Bhakti scriptures. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रिय सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वादौ स्वयं विस्फुरत अतः. So beginning with this process of hearing and chanting, then it will cause the removal of the contaminations of ignorance from the heart by replacing, by replacing with this blissful process of devotional process of hearing and chanting, etc. And this is the conclusion of Bhakti scripture. All the Bhakti scriptures are engaging us. That's what Prabhupada described, gave the word Bhakti means pure devotional service. Service has to be, because only by serving, so utilizing the senses, our senses, in the service of the Lord of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. Bhakti is defined as what? Engaging our senses in the service of the Lord of the senses. That is called Bhakti. Now, the most terrible obstacle to the attainment of that prema is aparadha. The Bhakti scriptures repeatedly tell us that prema cannot be attained as long as this obstacle is still present. Yeah, if the offense is to the devotees is committed, then that is the greatest. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that other sins and other attachments, different things, they can be uprooted their effect. At the stage of asakti, one becomes completely free from all the vices of this material world. But even at the stage of asakti would not suffice if one has committed Vaishnava Prad or Mahad Aprad. Even at the stage of prema, one is almost completely nullified of the effect of Vaishnava Aprad, because at that stage one will become so humble and so remorseful of having committed Vaishnava Aprad to any Vaishnavas, that he will ask for forgiveness and everything. Because at the stage of love, at the stage of prema, what is one will not do to expedite his attaining the supreme? So he will become careful throughout his whatever time is left. Even at the stage of love, although he's getting absolved from the sin, or the effect of aparadh is complete, but atyantiki nivritti of sin, or this, will be only when he will be transferred to the absolute realm. A devotee who has attained the stage of prem, love of Krishna, if he had committed any offense to a pure devotee or Mahatpurush, of course, at the stage of his attaining the love of Krishna, he has become absolved completely. But because he had committed offense once, so he remembers. He remembers and he knows the possibility of recommitting. So although he has completely become purified, but his authentic is that authentic means then no possibility of turning back. So this mahad aparadh is the biggest obstacle. So bhakti scriptures repeatedly tell us that prema cannot be attained as long as this obstacle is still present, even if the devotional limbs like hearing and chanting are being performed. Hence, aparadha is a strong consideration amongst Vaishnavas. Generally, the scriptures describe offenses as the 32 seva aparadhas in performing pure devotional service many times. Seva aparadhas, they are sometimes many seva aparadhas while performing devotional service. Sometimes we are not, so many things which are imperfect in our doing, in our speaking, sometimes due to the conditioning of the body, conditioning of the mind, the effect of time, place, and circumstances, which make us less than perfect, and that causes the seva aparadha and the 10 nama aparadhas. But apart from this, there are many ordinary sins that are condemned by the scriptures and that result in grave offenses to the holy name or to the deities, and which block the attainment of prema. Offenses committed while dealing, while speaking, having conversation. Offenses committed while having discussions, arguments, and all these things. Dealing in buying and selling, or joking, offense is committed by relentlessly speaking lies, taking others' property. Just it has become people's second nature. See the conditioned state of a sadhaka, how it could be. The purification, so much purification needed. Taking others' property, even by permission, correct? And if the person forgets to call it back, you say, oh, since he has forgotten, so it's all right if it stays with me. Taking others' property, scriptures, and so on without telling, or not returning properties even if they are taken with permission or in knowledge. Thinking, oh, he has forgotten that I have taken it, so I won't return it. Then relentlessly killing flies or mosquitoes, ants, and mice, speaking harsh words while dealing in giving and taking, acting cruelly. All these things are called asat kriya. These are tiny sins for the ordinary people. But for the sadhakas, they result into grave offenses. Such behavior is not appreciable in a sadhaka, correct? Therefore, the diligent bhakta sadhakas must be vigilant about them and proceed on the path of bhakti by giving them up. In the same way, kutinati must be given up. Kutinati means deceitfulness and absorption in other things. Externally commencing the worship, externally commencing the worship of the sadhus, gurus, Vaishnavas in Bhagwan, Sri Krishna, without having internal faith in them is called kaparta, duplicity, or deceitfulness. What we do, what we appear, we don't mean it. We are different from what we appear is. So without having internal faith in them, we still externally involving or commencing the worship of sadhu, guru, and Vaishnavas in Krishna. That is called kapatta or deceitfulness. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami has written that this deceitfulness is generated by Vaishnava aparadhas committed both in this life and in the previous life. Wow. How can one sustain aparadha buddhi? Aparadha means putting someone down or degrading someone in one's consciousness. We commit aparadha towards anybody means now we don't value him as much. But and that is called aparadha. No? So this kind of tendency, see, apparently we have to involve in worship of sadhu, guru, and Vaishnavas in Krishna without having internal faith in them is called kapatta or deceitfulness. So this deceitfulness is generated by Vaishnava aparadhas committed both in this life and in the previous lives. This duplicity is a powerful obstacle to bhakti. This duplicity must be given up by taking shelter of the sense and by acting in an attractive way to the Guru and the Vaishnavas. This duplicity is a very powerful obstacle to bhakti. This duplicity must be given up by taking shelter of the sense and by acting in an attractive way or attentive way to the Guru and the Vaishnavas, so that their grace is attained. There are so many synonyms of duplicity. Chala. Chala means cheating or depriving someone. Chauri means stealing. Pratarna, troubling someone, creating so many problems. Vanchana, depriving. Shatata, arrogance. Duratma, inflicting pain and more. When these are applied to Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, wow. Now, when these are applied to Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, it culminates into a terrible offense. Then what happens when someone becomes that kind of person? Then he then justifies all his wrongdoing, finds excuse, and in that condition, the repentance never comes to his heart of such a person. Rather, he is very satisfied with himself, thinking, well done. So he justifies any wrongdoing objectively, which is wrongdoing, but he justifies subjectively that he is not doing anything wrong. Certain people become plagued by such attitude. Whatever they do is right. They know everything. So this claiming mentality that whatever one does or whatever one thinks or does is right. What a terrible position to be in. To get rid of all the vices, unless a person feels the repentance, of wrongdoing, repentance. But such repentance never comes to the heart of such a person. Rather, he is very satisfied with himself, thinking, well done. As a result of this, the path to removal of this vice is also blocked. Any instructions to such a person will not work, because he thinks he knows what is right and what is wrong. Correct? It's very difficult to educate the person who claims that he knows everything, what is right and what is wrong. So don't educate, don't teach me, don't preach to me. Many people think like that. Therefore, the sadhaka should always beware that these faults will not be able to find some slit means opening to enter into his heart. And this world, just for benefiting us, this world, and unfortunately, even in the devotional circle or society, we can find certain people, not all, but certain people, with that misfortunate position or condition, just to remind us and make us ask, we will we ever want to be like that? No. So therefore, sadhaka should always beware that these faults will not be able to find some opening to enter into his heart or her heart. Ulterior desires also cause the practitioner's mind to become absorbed in different mundane things that have nothing to do with Krishna or Krishna consciousness. The minds of those who are thus disturbed by sensual thoughts can never meditate on God. In Vachinamrita, one of the sadhaka, one of the students is asking Sriji Maharaj, great teacher, what is the swarup of Maya? How to identify Maya? Then he says that when while we are trying to meditate upon God, while meditating upon the divine couple. Okay? So while meditating on God, so instead of God, if any other figure comes in front of our eyes, that is Maya. Our endeavor to meditate upon God, And while doing that, if any other figure appears in front of us, that is Maya. So depending on what deviates us, what distracts us, so the object of distraction is Maya. Anything which distracts us from meditating upon the divine couple is Maya. Of course, Maya is defined as that which is not. How to understand this? The divine couple are the object of our meditation, correct? Nothing else. So if anything else becomes the object of our meditation, which is not, anything else is not the object of our meditation. So if anything other than the divine couple blocks our meditation or distracts us from or becomes the object of our meditation, which should not be. So Maya is that which is not or should not be the object of our meditation. Hmm. So the practitioner should know all worldly material objects to be perishable and temporary, and he should give up his absorption in these disgusting and trifle mundane objects to try to delight his mind with the flavor of the Supreme Lord's holy name, attributes, and pastimes. Another meaning is that the practitioner should give up false activities such as duplicity. This can be another explanation. Anyway, in the same way, the practitioner also has to give up other habits. It is absolutely necessary for the practitioner to give up all pursuits for personal bodily happiness other than the worship of Sri Krishna. Let Krishna's senses be gratified. Let Krishna be glorified. And in such participation, we won't be left any time to think of self-glorification or self-gratification. So it is absolutely necessary for the practitioner to give up all pursuits of personal bodily happiness other than the worship of Sri Krishna. For when there is absorption in bodily happiness, the absorption in bhajan will gradually diminish. Simultaneously carry on both. Absorption in self-gratification, absorption in bhajan, they can only ill go together. The practitioner should eat, sleep, and seek shelter only in as far as it is favorable for bhajan. So only if we insist on taking prasadam, as far as eating is concerned, Srila Prabhupada, in order to encourage many of his followers, he said that if one insists that he will eat only prasadam or mahaprasadam, he will go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada, just as in last slokas, last discussion, when Kirtani Sadahari asked about the faith, what level of faith we have in the words and instructions of the spiritual masters, sadhus, and shastra scriptures. Prabhupada said this, and if it sticks to someone's heart, he insists that he will take only prasad. Now his eating faculty, his eating that need is so tuned into Krishna consciousness. For him, eating, the object of eating is only prasadam, and prasadam is non different from Krishna. So how spontaneously he has become Krishna conscious. Only by becoming fully Krishna conscious, one becomes eligible to go back to Godhead. No? So this habit, so we discussed that if one has one's last rituals are performed in Radha Kund, it is a promise or benediction given by Radharani to the person who asks for this benediction, that anybody who's cremated in Radha Kund is granted the fortune of attaining the eternal maid servanthood of Srimati Radharani. We should not judge this statement. We should have absolute literal faith in this statement. Just as the words given by a pure devotee, Sri Prabhupada, said that if one insists that he will take only Mahaprasadam or Prasadam of Krishna, he will go back to Godhead. That's why the practitioner should eat, sleep, and seek shelter only in as far as it is favorable for bhajana, both in quality and quantity. If a practitioner takes more than necessary, he will become attached to and immersed in these things, and his bhajana will be diminished. His focus, his vigor, his passion is for more bhajan or passion for cutting out the bhajan or just make his limited bare minimum like 16 rounds. 16 rounds sometimes becomes a joke. 16 round itself is such a struggle for most of us. So the idea is to self-analyze. Where do we stand in our consciousness? Can we afford to become satisfied with 16 rounds? But what we do when we are not doing 16 rounds or any other activity, devotional activity? So what is our passion that will determine? Because the Prema Bhakti Yoga is a very passionate devotion, and passion can be possible only when the force or the vigor or the dedication is in one direction. If we are divided in multiple, then it cannot be very called passionate. It could be called casual. I want to do this also, I want to do that also, and that also. We cannot become passionate about one thing. But devotional service to Krishna, does Krishna or the divine couple don't deserve our 100% dedication and passionate engagement towards them? Are they not worthy of it? That's why our Krishna consciousness has to be analyzed. Have we, is our appraisal in our consciousness, how much attention, how much focus, how much can be sacrificed, how much can be engaged or utilized for the pleasure of the divine couple? Can this be raised? Definitely. It is our appraisal of the beauty and our attraction. So divine couple, it has not reached a sufficient height where we can exclusively become immersed in their bhajan. But if his passion is for these other things, if he becomes attached or becomes immersed in other things to acquire, passionate about this thing or that thing or many things, then his passion for bhajan will be diminished. And if he takes less than required, the body and mind will dry up, and that may also harm his bhajan. It is seen in a verse from the Naradiya Purana quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Yavata shat sva nirvaha svikriyat tavad arthavid. Anyway, the knower of necessities accepts only enough bodily sustenance to be able to continue his bhajan. So this is the position of a Jakrit awakened sadhaka. So he should only accept enough bodily sustenance to be able to continue his bhajan or increase his bhajan. His spiritual life is diminished by taking either too much or too little. Many times we imagine missing some bodily facilities. I cannot live without this, I cannot do without that. If I don't get this, I won't manage. Speaking in this way and running around preaching the surrender principle of anukulyasya sankalpa, accepting what is favorable. I am busy collecting all kinds of unnecessary facilities. Sometimes sadhak may justify, oh, I am accepting everything which is favorable for my devotion, for my comfort. If I can have air condition, if I can have this, of course, certain things are necessary and sometimes heater. But too many facilities in the name of accepting what is favorable. Should we not also get used to making all circumstances favorable rather than insisting that I can do certain things only if this is there, this is there. That's the point. How far we become passionate about, in the name of accepting what is favorable, I will be busy collecting all kinds of unnecessary facilities for my bodily comfort and pleasure on the pretext of maintaining this body for bhajan. I have to take care of my body. And in the process, you become attached to the body. Whereas the body itself teaching us the sense of detachment. Body reminds us, no matter how much you pamper the body, how much you massage the body and everything, it won't last. It won't. But then it becomes indulgent. If the body becomes indulgent, then we are trapped by body service rather than the service of or thought of service of the divine couple. So body should be just fed, taken care of, just enough so that we can maximize our focus and meditation on the divine couple rather than meditating and thinking what the body's needs are. You know, Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. This body is a means. This body is the instrument given to us to focus not on body but on the pure devotional service of the divine couple. If the indulgence of the body is granted or justified, then we will end up becoming body conscious, even while apparently on this path of pure devotional service. One becomes so attached to many things. Our attachment, exclusive attachment, should be for the divine couple, and whatever through natural arrangement and simply without much endeavor, one should be able to, one should be able to just adjust and compromise on material aspects. Big room, small room, sometimes, this facility, not facility. Okay, that is austere, na? To making the body austere so that when the austere situations or circumstances arise, we are not perturbed, we are not disturbed. Oh, I cannot do this under this circumstances. Our focus should be Kirtaniya Sadahari. Sada means under all circumstances, we should manage to be able to remember Krishna and glorify Krishna all the times. Many circumstances, because mm, as time passes, naturally circumstances changes. Our body changes. Our body is conditioning. So more and more, by becoming austere, we should be able to decondition the body to remain ready for more and more progress, engagement in devotional service. Mhm. Actually, this eagerness for bodily comforts creates a mundane consciousness that diminishes bhajan and that will halt progress on the path of bhajan. After this, the blessed author said, Anya deva na koriho rati. Do not love gods like Brahma and Shiva, thinking them to be separate from the Supreme Lords. Some people may worship, separate means independent. For those who worship demigods, they think of them also as God. That's the difficult, that's the problem. They worship Krishna, that's fine, but Krishna alone is the Supreme God. If others who are all Ekala Ishvara Krishna are so Bhritta, everyone else is servant of Krishna. So if the servant of Krishna, like this demigods, if they are also treated as Krishna is the Supreme, that's the mistake. That's the avidhi. Because they think of Brahma and Shiva, thinking them to be separate Supreme Lords. Some people may worship Sri Krishna and at the same time love other gods, apparently worshipping Krishna, but have affinity for other gods. Again, others may Krishna's lotus feet, calling him the head, not able to do the worship of different gods and goddesses. Again, others may have heard of exclusive devotion from the mouths of the saints, or may have read about it in holy scriptures, and think it will not harm their exclusive devotion to Krishna. If they offer his food to other gods and goddesses, that that develops the affinity. We become so used to doing many things which are against the principle of exclusive devotion of Krishna. Again, others may worship Sri Krishna while being overwhelmed with love for other gods. Krishna says, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mameva konte yajanti vidhi purvakam. Whatever they make to other demigods, but Krishna, because he said that he is the bhuktaram yajna tapasam sarvalokam. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhukta cha prabhu revacha. Krishna says, I alone, aham hi, me alone, sarva yajnanam bhukta. So whatever offering is made, even to other demigods, Krishna says, I'm the enjoyer. But those who are making the offering to others, they are not aspiring for me. And I am the Ahami Sarv Yajnana Bhuktache Prabhu. Prabhu means Niyanta, one who controls what fruit or what benefit, what result one should get. So those who worship other demigods, Krishna says, although the offering comes to me, just like Akashat Patitam Toyam Yatha Gacchati Sagaram, all the water which pours from the sky, from the clouds, it eventually goes to Sagar. Sagar is like Krishna. All the offering, even made to other gods, goes to the Supreme God. In the same way, Sarvadeva Namaskaram, worship or offerings to all the gods, Sarvadeva Namaskaram, or bowing down everything, Keshavam Pratigachati. It goes to Keshava Krishna, just as the water pouring, or it goes to the ocean. But the problem here is, this is how many Hindus justify. See, this sloka is in the scriptures. That whosoever we worship, our offering reaches only Krishna. Okay, the offering reaches the Krishna. But where will you reach? you will reach only where your your affinities. So your affinities for other gods. So even by offering to them, you will not reach the supreme destination of Krishna's abode. And that's how one remains deprived. And that's why in conditioning, if one is used to worshipping many gods and goddesses and offering food to them, and they think, oh, it will not harm their exclusive devotion to Krishna. Again, others may worship Sri Krishna while being overwhelmed with love for other gods. You know, this Krishna is, oh son of Kunti. Those who are devoted to other gods and worship them with faith really also worship me, but not according to the rules. What is that rule? The rule is not to become free from material life or to attain the Supreme Lord. Attaining the Supreme is only possible through exclusive worship of Krishna. Hearing this from the Lord's own sacred mouth in the Bhagavad Gita, they worship other gods and goddesses according to the rules, so that they pray to these gods and goddesses for devotion to Krishna. In this way, those who worship Sri Krishna also love other gods and goddesses in different ways. Attaining the Supreme by worshipping exclusively the Supreme. But those who are conditioned to worshipping other gods, they say, okay, we will pray to other gods to give us exclusive worship to Krishna or attaining the Supreme Abode. Now Krishna is telling, in order to attain me, one has to exclusively worship me. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paripasate. Krishna speaks about exclusive worship. But those who are so conditioned to worshipping other gods, they think, oh, we will worship and beg them that give us exclusive worship to Krishna. So in the same way, they continue in this way. Those who worship Sri Krishna also love other gods and goddesses in different ways. So in this Tripadi, Sri Thakur, Nautam Das Thakur aims at those who love other gods and goddesses in the different ways that were described above by saying, Apana apana sthane pritis sabhai thane bhakati pathe paroe vigati. Love for any individual will pull you to the abode of that individual or demigod or anybody, and will cause you to fall from the path of pure devotion. The path of pure devotion leads to the highest abode of the supreme divine couple. But love for any individual will pull you to the abode of that individual and will cause you to fall from the path of pure devotion. Case, in any case mentioned above, those who surrender to Sri Krishna's lotus feet should not love other gods, for the nature of love is that it will attract the lover to the abode of the beloved. When a person loves other gods, his love will attract the heart to that particular Godhead. This will cause the sadhaka trouble on the path of devotion, resulting in loss of exclusive loyalty and the path of progress in bhajan sadhan being blocked. The heart's love must be offered fully to Sri Krishna, Sri Radha Krishna, Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Sharing with others will not work. And Krishna doesn't like it. Krishna doesn't mind if we invite lovingly to sit in our heart, become manifest in our heart. He is already there, but he becomes manifest. But Krishna is only one condition. Okay? You have to leave everyone else from the heart. I don't mind your heart is very, very small and I'm unlimited. Krishna doesn't mind to become limited, to enter our limited heart. But Why even our limited heart has to be given completely to Krishna. He doesn't like sharing with others, will not work. If some devotee of Krishna develops love for other gods and goddesses, he must still exclusively worship Sri Krishna. Even if one has been conditioned to have loved other gods and goddesses, but now through this instruction, through this satsang, one should at least exclusively worship only Krishna. Then that will cause, the effect will be that he will lose that affinity due to long practice of worshipping other demigods. He must still exclusively worship Krishna only. These other gods and goddesses will never be so satisfied with their separate worship as they would be tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashakha pranopahara chetindriyanam tathaiva sarvaranam achyutejya. So I think, wow, I can, so much time has elapsed. Still, thank you for your being so patient and attentively listening. We stop here and invite some participation. Anybody has any question?
Hare Krishna, Shri Guru, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Very beautiful class and very fascinating. Your class always gives us reality checks that how far we have to go and how for me personally how obedient I have to become, how humble I have to become, and it is by all your mercy that all this will happen. Shri Guru.
So it will happen automatically, correct? Asha bandhita, no? It's a very, very life of our sadhana. Asha bandhita is hope that I will be delivered. I will definitely attain the Supreme. Because we are connected with those who is fully connected there. No? So the Asha bandhita is very good. Krishna consciousness is our only hope against all hope, and our connection, our connectivity, deep rooted or chitta deep connectivity to a Mahapurush, that will definitely purify, because that connectivity alone will take us all the way. It's a fact, because it will cause sufficient purification. That is the very essential instruction of Lord Krishna to Uddhavji. Tato dusangam utsrijya. Dusangam utsrijya means from the root, the anarthas, dusang, our affinity for bad association, affinity for bad habits, unwanted distractions, all these things, which has become our second nature. So many Vyasan addictions, which have become like our second nature. How it would be possible for us? So that affinity for the Mahapurush, that deep bond, that the fortune of being connected to the most blessed, this perception will definitely help us to become free from all the unwanted things. And I will become fully blessed by that connectivity. So this Asha Bandhita, this expression of that, I will be delivered, then it will boost us, it will give us a sufficient strength to get rid of the things which will block our attaining the Absolute Supreme. So tato dusangam utsrijya satsu sajjeta. The key is when we have become attached to the Mahatpurush. Satsu. Satsu means the pure devotee. Satpurush. Sajjeta means becoming attached to. So Krishna, Sloka, he says everything. Attaining, causing, or the possibility of, full possibility of, full possibility of attaining the complete purification. Purification of our consciousness. And when the consciousness is purified, then the purification of our mind, what we think, purification of the speech, what we speak, and purification of our senses, how we act, how we engage them. Everything is accomplished because we are now directed under the direction of one who is always right. If we follow the person, if we have that appraisal of someone's most blessedness, that one is always right, then how can we do wrong if we follow and we conduct ourselves under his or her direction? That is the essence. Um, that is the central point of this Bhagavad Dharma. If one captures this point to one's heart, in the full perfection, and rather one will become fully captured by this conviction of Asha Bandhata. Asha Bandhata means I will be delivered. I will attain the Supreme. Because I'm connected to one who has attained the Supreme. That should be the perception. Satsu Buddhiman, he becomes intelligent. Intelligence is definitely intelligent. An intelligent person, when given the multiple options, he is able to pick up the right one. So if one who has become attached to person, always right, because he is intelligent. By following intelligent person, Bhakti, Bhagavad Bhakti Sangena Parijayated, only by associating with one sufficiently, sufficient association will cause the attachment. And if we have associated sufficiently, any doubt is the purest devotee, the most blessed one. That understanding, that perception will take us all the way. Satsu Sajjata Buddhiman. Santaha evasya chindyanti, because that saintly person, that pure devotee will eva asya, certainly to that person, chindyanti, shred away, mano vyasanga mukti, shred away all the excessive attachments of his or her heart by the force of his powerful instructions. So much is that everything has been spoken in one shloka. It should be the goal while we are as a sadhaka, that we develop that affinity for the lotus feet of a Mahatpurus, of a pure devotee who is perceived as the most blessed in our heart. that will do it. All right?
Yes, Shri Guru. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. If anyone have any question or want to share something, please unmute.
All right. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to increase our appreciation in our appraisal of this opportunity given to all of us to attain the or to develop and to realize the full possibility of attaining the highest perfection of our human potential through this satsang. That asha bandhata is so that will be the gauge through which we can remain ever progressive. Because without asha bandhata, that we are that hope, undying hope, that we will definitely attain the supreme. We will definitely attain the kankaratva of Srimati Radharani. So that asha bandhata must be realized by every sadhaka. How much we should value the satsang, the association, and if that association is perceived as that we are associating with the most blessed, if that standard, that level is reached, then nothing else is required, everything will fall in place. If one has developed the perception of associating, of feeling like associating with the most blessed, that would suffice. And that is the ultimate test of our consciousness, whether it has reached that perception, that level of appraisal. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bo. So, thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
We will all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra at least 3 times for our dear Shri Guru.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
With all love, we will call out Om Vishnu, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhams Parivajakacharya Ashotrashat Shri Swamini Kripa Murti परम पूज्य भक्ति स्वरूप गोविंद महाराज की
Jai.
जय जय
Namaste
गुरुदेव, जय जय
Nitai.
गुरुदेव.
Hari 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 Bo. Hari Hari Hari. All right. So, wow. So we'll join you all in the Kirtan in less than 2 hours. All right.
हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम गुरुदेव.
Hare Krishna, Sri Swamini Matidastu, everyone. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari 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 Hari.
हरे कृष्ण प्रणाम श्री गुरु
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Shri Guru.
Pranam Shri Guru, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Again, this Gaurangi, the youngest participant. Again, you got the youngest participant medal. All
Hare
right.
Krishna, Pranam Shri Guru.
Hare Krishna, welcome. Everything feeling progressive? Okay, yeah,
Somewhat progressive Shri Guru.
yeah. We cannot lose the track of progressiveness, ever progressiveness. Uh, even when apparently you're like in the stock market, correct? But you're falling, there is also part of the progressiveness, correct?
Yes, Shri Guru.
Something goes down with the mind, body, or because we are dependent beings, and our because of our dependence, many things. But we have to keep the progressiveness of our consciousness intact. Other things, due to circumstances, may appear, you know, maybe sleepy, not so enthusiastic, or mood swings due to the body, place, and circumstances. But under all circumstances, we don't drop out. You know, so we can sustain, we can bear with, because our goal, the focus, our vision, our destination is so sublime that we can withstand anything which is going to come in our life, to sustain our absolute focus on the highest destination, to cause the realization of our highest perfection of our human potential. Correct? We are never alone. We will be pushed and pulled. So just be ready for it. That's all. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari 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 Hari. All right. All right then. Gaur Premanande.